The summer sun beat down on Sarah and Michael's beat-up Chevy as they rattled down the dusty highway towards Point Bluff, Oregon. It was 1978, the air thick with the sweet, suffocating scent of honeysuckle and exhaust fumes. Sarah, a flame-haired wisp of a girl with eyes that mirrored the summer sky, gripped the steering wheel, a knot of apprehension tightening in her stomach with every mile. Michael, beside her, his dark hair perpetually tousled, wore a wide grin, oblivious to her unease. The radio blared a disco anthem, the upbeat rhythm a stark contrast to the growing unease in Sarah's heart. Point Bluff wasn't much to look at. A sleepy coastal town clinging to the edge of oblivion, its lifeblood drained by the exodus of families lured by the promise of opportunity elsewhere. The sight of her grandmother's cabin, nestled amongst the whispering pines at the town's edge, did little to ease Sarah's disquiet. It was a ramshackle affair, all peeling mustard-colored paint and warped wooden steps. Cobwebs, like tattered macrame, draped the dusty windows, and a faint, cloying scent, like forgotten potpourri, hung heavy in the air. Michael shouldered open the creaking door with a flourish, a grin stretching across his face. "Welcome to your humble abode, milady," he declared, a mock bow sending a cascade of dusty motes dancing in the weak sunlight. Sarah fought back a shiver. "Charming," she managed, her voice barely a whisper. The interior was even worse. Faded floral wallpaper peeled at the seams, revealing the chipped plaster beneath. Furniture shrouded in white sheets loomed like ghosts in the dim light. Every creak, every groan of the settling house seemed to whisper a dark secret. Unnerved, Sarah wandered through the rooms, a sense of foreboding clinging to her like a spiderweb. Michael, oblivious, rummaged through dusty boxes, unearthing relics from a bygone era. A chipped porcelain doll with a vacant stare, a tarnished silver locket on a cracked chain. That night, sleep was a fragile visitor. The rhythmic tap-tap-tap of unseen claws on the roof kept them on edge. The wind, like a mournful banshee, wailed through the pines, rattling the old windows. Even the flickering kerosene lamp seemed to cast grotesque shadows on the walls, sending shivers down their spines. Sarah, burrowed deep under a scratchy wool blanket, dreamt of skeletal figures with eyes that glowed like embers, their bony fingers beckoning her closer. Morning brought a fragile sense of normalcy. Sunlight, albeit faint, filtered through the dense canopy, dappling the cabin floor. Michael, ever the optimist, whistled a jaunty tune as he brewed coffee on a sputtering gas stove. Sarah, however, couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent her heart into a frantic gallop. That afternoon, they ventured into the woods behind the cabin, following a barely their path Sarah vaguely remembered from childhood summers. The dense canopy blocked out most of the sunlight, casting the forest floor in an eerie green gloom. The air hung heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves. Sarah felt a prickle of unease crawl up her neck, every instinct screaming at her to turn back. Michael, however, was oblivious, his youthful enthusiasm pushing them deeper into the suffocating embrace of the woods. Then, they stumbled upon it. A clearing, choked with weeds and wildflowers gone feral, a stark contrast to the oppressive darkness of the surrounding forest. In the center stood a circle of pale stones, each etched with strange, swirling symbols that seemed to writhe and pulsate in the flickering sunlight. An unnatural chill emanated from this place, a palpable presence that sent goosebumps rippling across Sarah's skin. Michael, ever the skeptic, scoffed at the spooky rocks, his voice cracking just a hair under the weight of the oppressive silence that had descended upon them. As they stood there, a crow, its feathers shimmering an unnatural black, circled overhead, its harsh caw echoing through the clearing like a curse. They left the clearing, the unsettling feeling clinging to them like a shroud. Returning to the cabin, they found a wooden box on the porch, its surface slick with a dark, oily sheen. Curiosity, laced with a healthy dose of fear, gnawed at Sarah. With trembling fingers, she pried it open. Inside, nestled in crimson velvet, lay a silver locket, its surface tarnished but still beautiful. As she lifted it, a wave of dizziness washed over her, and an icy tendril of fear snaked its way down her spine. The locket pulsed with an unnatural chill, and as she opened it, a single, faded photograph lay within. It depicted a young woman, her beauty eclipsed by the chilling emptiness in her eyes. She wore a long dress, the style from another era, and around her neck hung a necklace identical to the one Sarah now held. The following days were a descent into madness. Nightmares, filled with whispers in an unknown tongue and glimpses of skeletal figures, became Sarah's constant companions. The cabin itself seemed to grow more oppressive with each passing hour. The floral scent, once faint, now permeated the very air, suffocating and cloying. Strange symbols, seemingly carved overnight, appeared etched onto the walls, their meaning a terrifying mystery. Michael, initially dismissive, began to share Sarah's growing unease. The once bright summer days seemed to be swallowed by an unending twilight. One night, a blood-curdling scream shattered the oppressive silence. Michael, heart pounding in his chest, fumbled for the kerosene lamp, its flickering flame casting grotesque shadows on the walls. He found Sarah in the doorway, her face a mask of terror, a single word escaping her lips in a trembling whisper. There, following her gaze, he saw it. A swirling vortex of inky blackness, pulsing with an unnatural light, had ripped open the center of the stone circle they had found in the clearing. A figure, tall and skeletal, its form draped in tattered black robes, emerged from the vortex. Its eyes, twin pools of molten red, locked onto Sarah. A desperate fight for survival ensued. Sarah, fueled by a primal fear, lunged at the creature, the silver locket clutched in her hand. The symbol on its surface flared with a white light that momentarily repelled the creature. Michael, grabbing a metal poker from the fireplace, charged at the figure, searing its pale flesh with a hiss. The creature screeched, a sound that seemed to tear at the fabric of reality, and retreated back into the vortex, which slammed shut with a deafening crack. Exhausted and shaken, they collapsed onto the floor, clinging to each other for comfort. The weight of the encounter pressed down on them like a physical burden, but the respite was short-lived. The next morning, they found the cabin door wide open, as if flung open by an unseen force. On the porch, a single black feather lay nestled amongst the dying embers of the fireplace. They knew then that their ordeal was far from over. As they fled Point Bluff, leaving the abandoned cabin and the whispering pines behind, Sarah clutched the locket tightly. The symbol burned hot against her skin, a constant reminder of the darkness they had encountered. The summer of '78 had irrevocably changed them, leaving them with the chilling knowledge that some horrors lurk beyond the veil of reality, waiting for the unwary to stumble into their clutches. The road stretched before them, an endless ribbon of asphalt leading them back to civilization. But Sarah knew, with a chilling certainty, that the whispers in the dark would never truly leave them. They would forever carry the weight of their encounter, a dark secret woven into the fabric of their lives.